Anu was the ruler. He became the ruler of the top of the three superimposed heavens. There's a story to this. I once broke down that the etymology of the word in Matthew chapter 6 verse 9 is Orenos, and said that it is Orion. So heaven has a specific location. And people say, no, when I do the word Orenos, it's Uranus. They said that's a lie. Stop the lies. Someone wrote that on YouTube. Stop the etymology crap. Stop the lies. But you know, it's hard teaching people who already feel that they've learned so much. They read one book and it ends there. They never think maybe someone else knows something. I say you're absolutely right. Orenos is Uranus. Absolutely right. You're right. But guess what? Uranus comes from where? The Sumerian word Ura-ana. You see, we stop etymology at Greek or at late Latin or at Old English. When was the last time you heard someone break down Hebrew etymology or Arabic etymology? But if they did, you'll find out the words come from Babylon, Sumeria, and Egypt, Tamaray. This is the problem. We normally stop our etymology at Greek or at late Latin, at Old English or French. So if you study the Mesopotamian story of Anu and the three superimposed heavens, that's the name of the story, you'll find that he became the ruler of the uppermost part of the three superimposed heavens at the vertical band of the eastern horizon, which is literally the location of Orenos, which would mean that this Anu, which is who they call the heavenly one, they say Anu is the heavenly one. This Anu that they call the heavenly one was ruler of what? Ura-ana. Ura-ana is where you get the word Uranus. Uranus is where you get the word Orenos. That is found in the Bible, Matthew chapter 6 verse 9, and cloaked in disguise under the English word heaven. So heaven has a location. It's Orion. You see, that's the problem. The word they use for heaven is Orenos. It's a constellation. You'll see three dots in the sky. Look like this. That's the belt of Orion. Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mentaka. They were associated to the three pyramids in Giza or Giza. Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. This is Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mentaka, corresponding with Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure. Okay, at Giza in Egypt, or Giza. So the Egyptians knew where heaven was. There was an actual location. The Bible says heaven, if you ask somebody, it's the first star. But when we look at the word and we do the etymology, we have to come out of Greece and find, so where did Uranus come from? You said, that's not Uranus. You're saying Orion because it sounds like Uranus. No, you're saying Uranus because Uranus sounds like Uranus. So this is good. I'm going to put up this YouTube clip. See, I left a hole for you guys. Make sure you'll stop bothering me. I only speak 7 languages. Don't mean I'm going to be right all the time. I'm going to make errors because I'm a human too. But you would think if someone speaks 7 languages, maybe the languages I'm talking about may be a bit bursting. So Orenos is Uranus, but Uranus is Ura-ana. And Ura-ana is the location of the vertical band of the eastern horizon. We are talking about the coordinates of the celestial bode, which would denote Orion. So they called that kingdom An, or Anu, and that's why Anu means heavenly one. So the word for heaven takes you back to Orion, a specific location. We're going to come back into the scripture. Now, let us go into the book of John. What does it read? Well, it says, and he said unto them, ye are from beneath, and I am from above. Ye are of this world, and I am not of this world. Now, what was my point for bringing this quote up? Well, if you look at the word above, where he says, ye are from beneath, I am from above, it has a concordance number of 507. What is the concordance number? What is the word for above? The word for above is Anu. Here we go again. The word for above is Anu, which is the word Anu. Now you will probably say, you know what, this Negro playing games again with the words. I don't like when he do etymology, because I know I got a lot of etymological critics out here. But let me explain something to y'all first. You gotta understand something when it comes to etymology. First and foremost, the essence of etymology is rooted not in finding the oldest definition of a word based on the last language that doesn't go before Greek or Latin or French. No. The essence of etymology is a letter-for-letter breakdown, the composition of the word, an understanding that there's an attributed meaning to each letter that makes up the word. Therefore, when you see the definition of a word, you can cross-reference it or double-check to see if someone's trying to mislead you by looking up the letter-for-letter breakdown. That is the essence of etymology. Now, if the language that purports to have its own words doesn't have meanings and gender attributed to its letters, then we have to keep going behind that language till we can find where did this language get its word from. But anyway, there's something else you got to understand. When you have a word like I know, we must understand that in the ancient languages, or Semitic languages as some will say, that they have this thing where the aleph, for instance, would represent several vowels in one. This is hard for people to understand that don't speak other languages or don't understand this concept that is derivative or root derivative of ancient languages. The aleph will represent an A, an E, an I, and even a U, because it represents a glottal stop. And out of it, you will see a hamza there, above or below the aleph, even with a dhamma at times. Because it attributes to it the glottal stop. It attributes to it the wind stopping from being expelled from the glottis or the epiglottis. These are glottal stops, like when you say in or up or apple. All of this represents the same phonetical representation. Therefore, the letter A is one and the same or represented as an E or an I or U by the same symbol or the same character or the same letter. So if you see the word anu, you might as well be also looking at the word anu. I know this is over a lot of people's head. They think that I'm trying to construct and create ideas from out the sky because they don't understand language. Another thing that we don't understand when I'm breaking down these words is the fact that religions have conveniently told us not to study the doctrines of the ancient Egyptians, not to study the doctrines of the Sumerians, not to study the doctrines of the same people being the Mesopotamians or Babylonians, by whatever name you want to attribute to them. They conveniently tell us don't study their doctrines because they're idolaters. They conveniently tell us that they're pagans. They conveniently tell us that they're heathens. Then the whole while, when they come after these people, they come after these cultures, they come after this race, they come after this ideology, after their paradigm, what do? They take and adopt their cultures, make you deny yourself of learning from them directly the source, and then next thing you know, you're learning about circumcision. Next thing you learn about the 8-day naming ceremony. After 8 days the child's born, do you give him a name? But where did they get these ideas from? These ideas was already long practiced prior to religion. But many of us come into religion and think these ideas, these concepts have their inception in the religions that we join. So the hardest people for me to teach are the religious people because there's a mental blockade on them. When I'm trying to teach this information, they don't understand the essence and the premise of language because first of all, they don't even speak the language of their own scripture. The scriptures will conveniently tell you about a land and a people, but will never educate you enough to say, let's study what those people had to say about themselves before we accept what the scripture has to say about those people. Once again, you're probably trying to figure out why is this even necessary. Jesus is saying that he is from Anu. Anu can be a person, place, or thing. Jesus is saying he's from above, he is from Anu. He's again alluding to the reality of the three superimposed heavens. This information is ancient information. You got to understand.
You gotta understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to hoodwink you. You gotta walk with me. And for the people that keep watching just 10 minutes of the clip and don't think I did not, don't think for a second that I did not represent what I am saying to the fullest extent, just understand it's just a 10-minute clip promotion.
Elon could be that's I'm next.
Lucifer asli ukadini zawu shahur ba haza ura na wa'u ina kalonut satu tabu Asaru me your fans me manu ha'u na shooting you got critical harp na fus alaki ya sin khal right kalus zalu nuwapi wapa sabu gadush pa nasi atapa hab kalus wa hasa kalon da you wabus kalon shi pakarita aru karut ini bisa bor wasula har wakut hazinin lan lam khandaya hadut sayuna no fino pa asmut hayo lagut no fino na hayo wasan do ba wabu mawu
Sajad, Hazi, Wild Goody, and from Tower Hat, in the pie, nested back, Sabduat, Cool Hamuta, in the pie, rushing at, until what the pie house, shield Hawaat, Rahubat, Sofa 10, Kaboom, V, Pie, my foot, easy Sayuna, Duratim, Lamu, Cool Hamut, Cool Hamuta, Cool Hamut, Cool Hamut.
This comes from Tax Lien Tax Deed, Workbook, and Real Estate Legal Fiction. Secured. We have a tendency to use words we use on a regular basis, but subject them to different definitions when you take them out that genre or that forum. So when we talk in real estate, this is important. Secured. Of a debt or obligation, supported or backed by security or collateral. Like a credit card is not doesn't pursue or nor is it a secured agreement. Meaning, if you go into debt, they don't come and take something from you. If they can repossess something, then it's a secured arrangement because there's collateral. Okay? Supported or backed by security or collateral of a creditor, protected by a pledge, mortgage, or other encumbrance of property that helps ensures financial soundness and confidence. Now you have sole proprietorship, a business in which a person owns all the assets, owes all the liabilities, and operates in his or her personal capacity, ownership of such a business. That's important. Liability, let's just make sure we got that. The quality or state of being legally obligated or accountable. Legal responsibility to another or to society. Enforceable by civil, remedy, or criminal punishment. A financial or pecuniary obligation. Why are we looking at that word liability, sole proprietorship, secured, legalist? We have to be legalists when you purchase a property. You have to be a person who views things from a legal or formalistic standpoint. Meaning, before I sign this contract and just believe everything you're saying is true, let me know what I'm walking to. This is why in my books, I say I'm going to do something nobody does. I haven't seen it yet. I put the contracts that I signed to buy my properties in the book. People say, you're just trying to take up pages and charge me. You know we dealing with our people, right? You put a 20-page contract in your book, fam. You trying to play me. And I said, oh, but if you ever bought a timeshare, you know they try to get you to buy it on the spot. And if you come back a second time because you negated to purchase it the first time, it's going to cost $5,000 or $10,000 more than it cost before. So that's their sales pitch. Buy it now, and we'll cut off $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 if you buy it right now and sign all 23 pages. You don't get time to think. You ain't no lawyer. Most of us don't even study law. We don't even have the slightest inclination to study this stuff. And if we do study law, we ain't even study the law most relative to us. Real estate law. So I said, you know what? This is deep. You know what I'm going to do? Just came up with a new idea. I'm still putting the contracts that I signed right there and say, this is what you need to look for. That's what I do. And how to I think your press, I'm like, if you don't see the promissory note, don't buy the property. You need a promissory note. And I explain why. Say, these are things that you need to know. Find out that property is connected to a credit union because there's a lot of opportunity granted to you, providing that that property or that organization locks you into a credit union. Why? Because a credit union has, well, first of all, they're not going to charge you when you pull your own money out. They're not going to charge you if you don't put money in your account for a long period of time. like these other guys. Their interest rates are lower. They extend better loans to you with lower interest rates. You can get a larger home equity line of credit, provided you do obtain an asset. And they'll actually educate you in the process when you do engage in some potential transaction to buy property. So I tell people, look, you know what? If you do buy a timeshare, for instance, buy something with Diamond, because you wind up part of the Federal Quorum Credit Union, or Quorum Federal Union. You say, why though? Why we just can't join a credit union outside that? The way credit unions work, you have to be in the fold of some prospective community or patronize some group in particular. So these are little tricks of the trade. You say, yo, I'm trying to get a credit card, but the credit thing ain't working out. So I say this, look, find a better address. I'll give you a map. I'll show it in books. I give you a map. It's called redlining. Credit card companies know they can't ask you what your race is. But no one said they can't do the demographics to find out which race predominates a certain area. So they call it redlining. What they do, they redline certain areas on the map and say anybody in the red line, don't give them credit. But we do only give them $500 worth of credit. Now, you can have a higher credit score than a white person in your community. You can have a 750 credit score in the hood. And a white man can have a 540 credit score in a highly reputable zip code. The red line doesn't go through his zip code. They would extend to him some credit. They didn't know he was white. They didn't even know if he was black. They saw that red line. You had a high credit score, but they said, man, that red line's right there. Don't give it to him. White man in another community, his house is just below the red line. We don't give it to him. High probability he's going to pay it back. So people say, yo, I can't get a credit card for nothing, because when they ask you for your address, that's the setup. Just say you got to learn the tricks of the trade. Because if we could just get into the door, credit is a resource now, unfortunately. Electricity is very important, especially currency. They call it electricity, currency, current, money. It's very important. We got to get access to it. And the name of the game is not to try to save up $1 million. It's not going to work. It's hard to save even $1,000 if you're in the hood. Yep. Let me take my damn jewelry off. Somebody said, yep, too fast. All the way in Indiana. Goddamn. I'll never get back to y'all. I'll teach my ass off like last time. Hopefully I can get out of here and start dancing. I'm messing around. So what we want to do, we want to identify things from a legalist perspective. We got to do the math first. We got to do the math first and figure out all the tricks of the trade. So when we go in and we come out with substance. So that redlining thing is very important. We got to figure that out. We got to know where they redline in your community. It's called redlining. You can even go online and look up redlining in Indiana. You should be able to find where the red line grid is that credit card companies use to ostracize people in those respective communities. Then you got to figure out how to get your box in a community that's nowhere near that red line. Then you petition to get credit, and you'll get it all the time. Because they can't ask you your race, but they can deny you because of your address, your zip code. It's serious. So that's one. And then we gotta know what to do with that credit when we get it. Because if it's a blunder, then now you gotta start all over again. So it's always about intelligent decision making and knowing what to use it for. But I need to know what I'm up against. In the event that I run low on money, I know what time I'm dealing with. A lot of us are dealing with foreclosure problems, and we don't even know when they're going to take the house. Right. We're just sitting there laying in wait. But just little knowledge on the lot number or the block number, and going online, you can find out how much time you have and who purchased the lien. Simple information. And it will save us. We need to be educated in these matters too, because why? We live somewhere. Everybody has to live somewhere. So that's why it's important. We all breathe, we need to study the breath. We all eat, we need to study food. We all need to live somewhere, so we should study real estate. It's simple. We're not trying to make nothing difficult here. We're not trying to take no one from their spirituality. We all have to have some place to live, so we have to study real estate. It's one of those things that have to be taught if no one else teaches it. So we're going to go forward. Remember that tax code, C.3205, lowercase b. Let's go to the next one. Property taxes are very important. Why? Property taxes are allocated by the county government. The county government is responsible for collecting property taxes in your community. You buy a house, you buy some land, you have to pay property taxes. Property tax money is taken by the county government and used to pay for policemen in your community, whether we like them or not. I like them because they keep the bad black people in control. But the bad black people don't take the good black people serious. But when the good black people call the white man, the bad black people turn into good black people. So we're going to need them for quite some time until we get things straight in our community. Okay, so they are the protectors of good black people, believe it or not. When the bad black people get out of control and out of line. When they beat up on their wives, and can't no one stop them, because his big muscle head brother, you can't stop him, or he got guns, he will put that gun down and talk in the best grammar when the white people come. In fact, he doesn't even have to be a cop, so long as he's white. So, property taxes definitely need to go to them. Property taxes go to these cops here to keep their business going and keep them in the community. Right? Now we got these people here. The children. Property taxes go to the public school teacher. And even though he's teaching lies, probably having one of his little Christopher Columbus wig out sessions, nonetheless, school isn't entirely bad. And property taxes go to schools. It keeps the schools up. So it keeps the policemen going, keeps the schools up. Fire department, most black communities don't really have any fire departments close. You go to white communities, if you start, when you know what to look for, you start realizing, whoa, black communities have clinics. And you go to white communities, you don't see no clinics. You see healthcare centers and hospitals that's ran by people that look like that. So property taxes keep the fire department open. If everybody's having rampant foreclosures in black communities, you're not going to see them there because foreclosures is the opposite of having police nearby, fire department, paved roads, and public schools. So we'll see a lot of our public schools closing down, student loans and funding being scarce, overcrowded classrooms, police taking too long to get into your neighborhood, no fire department around, potholes in the street, messing up your car, because the property taxes are not being paid in the community. And those property taxes get allocated to make sure there's a fire department, police personnel, teachers, and paved roads and highways. Just to name a few things where property taxes get allocated towards. That's why it's important. In fact, out of all the taxes you pay, property taxes is the least diluted tax. It's the one that actually goes towards what they say it goes towards. It's one of the best taxes to actually pay. It keeps your community going. Now, if your community is designed to not know how to fulfill the mandate to pay their property taxes, which is more important than even paying your water bills, because your water bill, you can keep that going for a little hot minute. Your gas and light, you can keep that going for a little hot minute. But the second you don't pay your property taxes, you're in trouble. Because you can't bargain or barter or exchange with the county government and say, yo, can I give you in installments? No. Property taxes is something that has to be paid in full. It's not like everything else. It's important. So it pays for these things. It keeps them going. This is government funding. County government funding. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, because we're in Indiana. Like, might as well start it at home. So I said, all right, that's what's up. But I never want you to limit yourself and think you got to be there to buy houses. I bought houses I've never seen and sold them before I even got there. Because we live in 2012 right now. And though 2011 is just a year ago, We live in a technological era. You don't have to be there no more. You ever see people pull up around your house and just be taking pictures?
Yes.
You say, yo, there they go spying on me and shit. Yo, there they go. Right? I used to think that too. Then I found out these are relatives that's being hired to take a picture of property because the people that invested in that property don't live in that state. So they're just being hired to come there and take pictures. You don't know the relief that I had. Because I'm like, yo, I'm a black conscious teacher. I'm doing my thing in my bookstore. And I'm like, yo, people be outside like, I'm like, yo, boy, yo, they stay doing. And then we be chasing, yo, why you taking, yo, give me that picture back, yo. And he ain't even focusing on us. We just happen to be there. Yo, that was people cameras we stole and beat up. Like, yo, here we go. Yeah, well, Indiana is a tax lien state. And they go by what's called a premium bid, which means they start from a lower increment and they allow people to do, in a colloquial sense, auction. They allow people to say, I got 900, I got 950 and things of that nature. They just keep raising it up. That's a premium bid. They got different ways to bid. They got bidding down the interest. Okay, this is it's a tax lien state. You can buy some tax deeds here, but particularly in terms of the auctions that I'm talking about, it's a tax lien state. They got tax deed states. If you want to get the house, you buy the tax deed. If you want to purchase the debt and make a profit off of it, and potentially get the house if the person doesn't pay back, then that's a tax lien. In a tax lien, you can potentially get the house, but you can make a profit paying taxes. And the IRS will give you a lot of love for doing this too, because you pay taxes for a living. If a person owns a house and their property tax is $600 a year, it's mandated by law that the person that pays or purchases the property tax will have to get anywhere between 15 to 26% interest. So you're talking about 15 to 26% in addition to the surcharges, the late penalties and things of that nature. So if a person owes $600 in property tax, they went delinquent. Let's say the redemption period is 1 year. In 1 year, that person didn't pay their $600. What happens is the county government will have your debt up for sale. This is how you purchase debt. They'll say, well, you know what? This person owes $600 in property tax. Someone comes to the auction, like yourself, you say, I'll buy that one. How long is the period? How long till it takes for my flip? No? You might say, look, we about 8 months in, you'll probably get this money back in 2 to 3 months if the person pays. If that doesn't happen, you're going to get the house. They're not going to explain it to you, but that's the name of the game. You get the house. So now you say, okay, well, what's the profit? So you make sure you find out the percent. In Indiana, the percentage is what they call a graduated rate. Indiana is kind of different from other states. It's called a graduated rate. This means that if you purchase a tax lien in the first 6 months of the year, your profit will be 10% interest. That's if someone owes $600 and you buy their $600 debt in property taxes, the county government issues what they call a tax lien certificate. You establish a lien on the property by purchasing the debt, and then the tax lien certificate denotes that security agreement between you and the actual county government. The collateral is the actual house. If someone doesn't redeem or pay it back, you get the house. Because remember what collateral was and remember what security is. And a security is a paper certificate that attests to credit and ownership and equity, as in the case of a stock, or ownership of a bond, as in the case of debt obligation, which has tradable derivatives. Tradable derivatives just means that that contract can be sold on the stock market and people will be willing to invest and take less interest. All this really means is if you get a certificate from the government, it's a paper certificate that identifies the fact that you have an invested interest in property, and if you don't get what you invested in, then you'll get the property as the collateral for the agreement. That's all that means. Anytime you see a certificate. All right? So if you purchase someone $600 debt, what they'll say is, you're not just going to get 10% of $600. No, before you do that, we're going to add $150 for a surcharge, another $300 for a late penalty, and then 10% of that. So they're not just going to give you 10% of $600, which is $60. That thing is going to be up to about $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, and then you're going to get 10% of that in Indiana. But if you pay for a person's lien or establish a lien on a person's property in the second half of the year, you get 15% instead of 10%. And if they don't pay for both within that 1 year, then you're getting 25% overall. A quarter of the money right back is an investment. Okay? And if you did this at a consistent rate and just bought tax liens based on what you could afford to buy every month, after doing it for 12 to 15 months, you have created what is called an annuity. You annuitize the tax lien, which means you will have checks coming in, like SSI, like you crazy or nuts, or you fronted like you was crazy, and now you got checks coming in, because we did that in the hood too. Those checks is good when they come in, right? And sometimes you got to go outside and act like stuff ain't right, just in case somebody see you.
Anki just joined.
Cool. Yeah, peace, Anki. So, that's one of the student masters we got, a new covenant. Okay, so now, you have the interest rate at 10%, first half, 50%, second half. If they fail to pay for the two liens in that 1 year, you're going to get 25% interest. That's what makes this class so good, because we can kind of go into the things in between the lines, right? And Indiana has a 1 year redemption period, so we know when to expect our money. Now, this is an important tax code. C.6-1.17-7. I gotta put this information here so you can look it up. According to this code, the purchaser of the lien has in their possession a lien that is superior to all liens and other encompasses that is on the real property. This means, let's say you purchase someone's debt. They owe $600 in property taxes. Let's say you're invested in it because you know you potentially can even get 25% at the end of the year. Or 2-3 months from now, depending on when you purchased it based on that redemption period. Because they already went delinquent. And remember, if a person doesn't pay their property taxes in 1 year, that 1 year delinquency warrants the behavior of the county government to sell your debt to anybody of the community or bank or the IRS or whoever. Now, if that person or whoever owns that property doesn't fulfill the mandate to pay within that redemption period that we talked about, which is 1 year in this particular case in Indiana, you have, as the purchaser of the lien, 31 days to execute your right to foreclose on that property. When a person doesn't pay for the lien, or redeem, as they say, when they don't pay for the $600, plus the surcharges, plus what you got to get paid, what happened is, you get the property for free with no mortgage. But you got to do this and act in 31 days. If you don't act in 31 days to fulfill your right to execute a proper foreclosure, then your tax lien dissolves. And this tells you when you do get the property, some people say, well, yo, sometimes I know somebody who bought a property and they had to pay for the second mortgage that someone else took out on it, or there was some prior water bills and then they had to put the light back on and out. Nah. According to Indiana, if you purchase a tax lien, it says no other encumbrance can hinder the appreciation of that real estate. Appreciation is when you make a profit over something you bought in real estate. Nothing can hinder the potentiality of you gaining appreciation or profit from the investment, and that's the tax code that protects you. And I show people how to execute their right to foreclose or direct them to who they need to go to. That's in the case of a tax lien. All right? And this is why it's good news for you. Okay? That's in the state of Indiana. Let's go to the next one. We got about 3 or 4 more slides. This is the process. We need to know this process. Hypothetical chart, tax lien and tax deed. Let's do it like this.
Safa asli upadini zawu shahur fa haza ura wu-nuwaupu ina kalunut Satu tabu Asaru me from say wu-nuwaupu. Na shooting you got critical harp na fus and the kid yasu hal right kalus zalu nuwapi wapa sabu gadush pa nasi atapa habu kalus wa hasa kalun da you wahus kalun shi pakarita aru karut ini bisa bor wasula haru wakut hazinin lan hamdaya hatut sayuna no fino pa asud hayo lagut na fino na hayo wasu no ba wabu mamu.
Satuat, hazi wagu dia na funtawa hat ila pa nestivat. Sabduat, ku hamutu ila pa rashnat antuat the pa hau shil hauat rahubat. So for 10 kabun fi pa ma foot isa sayuna doratim lamu. Ku hamutu ku lamu.
Atubrebi asukanu abi ela pamu poza barahu hakum hadi aklus rakunwa bakum habi kalantu da yuga ba hetsanu hadi hazalok man khalan hayu marun gabi shinuk sufutem nafun dali ba shodik sahu dahu suna rusipa hauba uf inena kiluwatem da yusa uparash na fakaru kalun abu tuanuki hen agun rafor hudori pa tutalazum agor zoti kalpa hakum na war wasan di kalpa azum
Satuat, hazi wagu dia na funtawa hat ila pa nestivat. Sabduat, ku hamutu ila pa rashnat antuat the pa hau shil hauat rahubat. So for 10 kabun fi pa ma foot isa sayuna doratim lamu. Ku hamutu ku lamu. Ku hamutu.
Why is this important? We gotta think about this chess situation. When a person plays chess, they have to have not one move in their mind in advance. They have to plan 3, 4, 5 moves in advance. And with the black community, when we talk about fighting back the devil, which I'm all down for, but the manner in which we fight back is where the setup comes in. Because if you study martial arts, you know you can push a brother, and if you push him violently enough, abruptly enough, and spontaneously enough, you can anticipate almost 100% of the times for him to push you right back as soon as he got pushed and realizes. And what does that mean? That means I can use his own momentum against him. You stand up real quick, brother. So I'm going to push this brother right now. And just boom, I ain't gonna go in on you. I'm a shot town. Ain't too far from New York. The mentality. Yeah, but I push you. Now go ahead. Intend to push me right back the second I push you. And then we learn in martial arts, we can use your momentum against you. Right? So, this devil takes control of your education. It's called curriculum. And he's nice enough to tell you the truth about slavery and says, we raped you, we castrated you, we tied you together to horses and made them run in 2 different directions and all that other good stuff. He was nice enough to share the information with us, to tell us how he beat up on the Indians and took advantage of them with brute force. In fact, everything he tells us in terms of how we lost our sovereignty is engendered or encapsulated around the principle of brute force. So I start thinking to myself and saying, why would they take the time out to tell us that they beat us up out of position? Unless they wanted us to beat them up out of position, which we obviously can't do. We ain't in that position to do so. So I said, wow, he's pushing us. He's teaching us that he pushed us, so what? We can push back. Wow, he owns the guns and the tanks and the helicopters. But even more significantly, a better question is this. Did he even push us that much at all? So I went back to this Willie Lynch speech. And some people say, oh, it's a hoax. It's not real, it's a hoax. So I say, you know what? Let's not vibrate on the frequency of it being a hoax. Let's vibrate on the frequency that we can bear witness to this plan being executed. We stay on that frequency right now. We're going to bear witness that the plan has been executed, so I'm going to use it as a template for the rest of this lecture. Because I find it to be very interesting, the Willie Lynch speech. When they invited a slave master to come to America from the Caribbean to institute a new style of involuntary servitude. I found it to be very interesting. And the speech was so-called supposed to take place in 1712 on the Jamestown River, named after the old good version of the Bible. But I say he has taught us that he has beaten us up to take our position. So in turn, what's going to happen to us, we're going to want to beat somebody up to get back our position. To say he's playing chess. Because he don't tell you that when he makes a plan, he makes a 300-year plan. He makes a 400-year plan. He makes a 600-year plan, a 6,000-year plan. No, he tell you this. We just woke up one day, saw that those niggas over there got some land, and we just started pushing them and raping their women and ripping them together by having horses attached to both sides of their legs and making the horses go in opposite directions. And then people be like, oh, traumatized, you watching the Rosewood movies? You're like, somebody got to get their ass kicked. You watching those movies and you ready to go in. He's letting it go in Hollywood though. And when he go in on a slavery movie, the white man go all the way in. And I'm like, after a while, this shit is made up, man. You just going too far. Going too hard. And all these slaves are just scared straight. When you know Negroes today put themselves in far worse predicaments. Negroes today get shot 8, 9 times and then rap and tell the people that shot them, you still ain't killed me. Well, we want to watch ourselves during slavery and think we wasn't belligerent in the least? You see the black woman lately? I'm telling you the truth. I ain't knocking black women, but have you seen the black woman lately? All up in her man's face. Her man can bench press 200 pounds. She don't even weigh 200 pounds. She don't even weigh 80 pounds. And she in his face. What, nigga? That's the same black woman? In slavery, you think she wasn't gang banging? You think we just accepted that? We wouldn't even change our name for this devil. How do both those stories run concurrent? Right. They couldn't get us to change our name. And on the same series of the same show, episode 2, we pass it. Right. They teach you some craziness. But guess what? They can't tell you the truth. Because the truth of the matter was, they heard a few people. But the truth of the matter was this. This guy came and said, no, you're doing it wrong. You can't use force. We got to get into their minds. He can't tell you the truth and say, look, this whole thing about slavery was just a ploy to get y'all to be super aggressive and ignorant. Where you wouldn't realize the true story was we sat down here and planned a plan that even our children will have to execute after us. They ain't planned them no plan so they can bear the fruits of their labor. They planned them a plan that perpetually each generation will have to execute the oppression of our people. Then if you knew that, then you'll say what? Then we have to start planning plans beyond this year. But you got the Negroes saying what? Ain't nothing to do today, I'm bored. Why this devil lose sleep to keep us out of pocket? I'm bored today, I don't know what to do. What do you mean you don't know what to do? You don't feel oppressed? So we look at this and we say, can you outthink your oppressor? We got to learn how to play chess off the board. But the first thing we got to realize is he's using our aggressiveness and our aggressive nature against us. He has us believing he pushed us, so we got to push right back. And most of the name of the game for slavery is mental. In fact, Harriet Tubman said it better than nobody else. She had to convince the slaves they were slaves in the first place for freedom. So that sounds like a mental warfare. That doesn't sound like physical warfare. And some stuff when you done crack his head off, stomped out the womb of a white woman, shot down another white man, risking being burnt, castrated, lynched, and crucified all at the same time. Finally get to the 10 slaves you came to free. And only one don't want to leave because everyone thinks they're free anyway. Imagine. I don't got to imagine it because I live in it today. Negroes going to argue with you like they don't know they're being oppressed. So long as you give them a college degree. Shoot, some of us willing to fight in Iraq for a college degree. It shows you how deprived and depraved the information we are in. What state we are in when we are willing to risk our life to get some misinformation. Not even accurate information. But you know what it is? We figured we're going to die in these streets anyway. At least I can get a bootleg education, free car, and at least a $60,000 salary at the end of the year. Only risk is my life. This is where we are. So like I said, they taught us that they pushed us, so our game plan can be pushed back. And when we push back, they already got their guns, their tanks, their weapons, and everything ready. They already told the media that we nuts. They already make sure every rapper that goes out there tells you how big his guns are. I be going into different towns. White people be seeing me because I travel quite a bit. And a lot of times, some of the houses I get are in white communities. And I'm tall. So if I ain't a basketball player, I'm up to something. So I tend to just try to carry basketball on the strength. They're like, what this nigga doing living in this community? I be washing them up too. They be looking bad at me. I be going in on them. Give them a little shot for slavery. But the thing is, they created these generalizations through the media. So a lot of people are stigmatized. A lot of white folks haven't even seen black people in their life. Yeah. We travel places where people are like, look, mommy, look. You see that white man all insecure. And I go say hi to the white children. He's like, there he go with that big phallus of his trying to swing that shit around my wife. Yeah, it's penis envy. I'm like, I knew I shouldn't have wore windbreakers today. Drinking all those tonics on that savvy diet, ain't a good look being around those white boys. They swear somebody trying to get their woman. I'm saying, look, can you outthink your oppressor? We gotta learn how to play chess off the board. Because this kill the white man stuff can only take us but so far. Fight back if you're being oppressed, but you're not always being oppressed physically, because if you was, we wouldn't be here. We'd be like this right now, with the knuckle game. We being oppressed mentally, because the people that are responsible for our education are our oppressors. So we're oppressing ourselves because we're consuming too much of the information. He got it good now. He got it real good. He got you in church. He got you in school. He got you at the workplace. He got us. Sever the bond between the man and the woman. How you going to do that? Well, make that black man, because his highest inclination is towards the Creator and God. He's celestial. His upper chakras are more stimulated, more prone to stimulus than his lower chakras. He has to complete himself or fill those voids inside of him by way of merging and becoming one flesh with his woman. So the woman is what? Her lower chakras are more stimulated by way of the terrestrial plane. Or call her the earth. When we was 5%, we say she's the earth and we God. That's why she's normally stronger in her legs. And the man's normally stronger above the torso. You ever see them dudes doing tons of push-ups and lifting weights? Then they go out and wear some shorts? Like, look at this nigga's legs. Like, it's crazy. And he be talking all that shit to you. You be like, yo, I'll trip you. Cut it out. With one finger, I'll push you over. Like, you'll tilt over. Seriously. I might be able to blow on your ass. You might fall. Those legs are too small for that big body of yours. But we see a woman and a black woman, see him trying to oppress her, and he smacked her the wrong way, and she used some strong legs of hers. Yep. Look like a damn horse legs, that ass out there and the legs go bang! I've seen it. I've seen big brothers go down for some small black women. Those legs are like one of those animals that kick you miles away. Oh yeah, don't oppress her in front of her children either. She get extra strong. That's what I'm saying. Like, look, we got the power, we got the potential, but we're not directing the energy the right way. So he has to think, we got to get our weight up. We don't want to get our mental weight up. This is the problem. So we see here, ask the question, does slavery have anything to do with 2012? It's out the 2012 book in the 3 pole shifts. Yes, slavery has a great deal to do with 2012. Remember, Willie Lynch was invited to America to teach the white American families how to make the best of slaves. Willie Lynch. It says here, Willie Lynch speech, 1712, excerpt. I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if you install it correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. And I'm saying 2012, the making of a new slave. Why is that significant? Because the speech took place in 1712 on the Jamestown River, and he's saying, yo, please, if you can hold it down for at least 300 years, we'd be all right. 300 plus 1712 gives you 2012. So say, yo, these guys, when they plan a plan, they plan a serious plan, and they plan a plan that takes hundreds of years to fully execute. They didn't truly conquer us yet. The name of the game is to see to it that they can impede on the consciousness that we're supposed to receive. Because you got to remember, when you see the full spectrum of light solidified, it is melanin. This means what? They play games again with us. How? Because they say we're colored and they're light-skinned. But in fact, they're colored because you can see every color of their veins through their skin. You can see green veins, blue veins, pink veins. They're colored, and we're light-skinned because we're light beings. Because full spectrum light solidified is melanin. So we're light-skinned, and they're colored. And light is consciousness, and light is information. So naturally, we have the ability to in-house more information than any other being on the planet. Everybody got melanin, but not quite like us. Light traps information. Light is consciousness. They study light and see that light has conscious grooves and behavior. They see that light behaves differently in the dark than it does in a place where it is observed or identified. Light is conscious. Therefore, we are light-skinned. So we see I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if you install it correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. And I say, wow, 300 years. The Willie Lynch speech took place in 1712. And here we go. 300 plus 1712 gives us 2012. And I said, I wonder if this is a coincidence. I said, keep in mind that this speech was given in the year 1712. So we discussed that. Let's go on, babe. It's more interesting right here. It's more and more interesting. There's a part of the speech for how to make a slave that took place in 1712. Warning, possible interloping negatives. This is a tone in which I went through some information that corresponds with the self-realization of what they're attempting to do. It says here in the speech, this is the reactivation of the 22-strand DNA book that I came out with. Our experts warned us about the possibility. This is what the slave master had wrote, Willie Lynch. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. For they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time if it can touch some substantial original historical base. So hold on. We know they have a plan. They want to at least execute it at least 300 years to tack on to the 1712, which would be 2012. And right after this, he says, they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time if it can touch some substantial original historical base. So it suffices to say, if they believe this, and look, it says, and they advise us that the best way to deal with the phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusions. So not only did the speech take place in 1712, not only did he say at least execute this plan to keep us brain dead for at least 300 years, and 300 plus 1712 equals 2012, then he backs it up and says, look, the mind has a tendency to recorrect the wrong. Meaning what? He's anticipating and awakening. So he didn't just plan a regular plan. You got to outthink your oppressor. He planned to put you asleep, and he planned to anticipate your awakening. So he's planning to put you back to sleep to say you start waking up. These guys are far from stupid. We can call them a lot of names, but don't call them stupid. These are scientists, wicked scientists. We're not talking about the regular pale man that you see walking up and down the block. We're talking about a different type of species. We're talking about the breed, the wicked and intelligent breed of that species. Ingenious. Plan a plan so much so that we're going to put you asleep. It's going to take us some hundreds of years. And by the time we actually look like we fully execute this plan and we're successful, we got to anticipate the awakening. Because why? These guys are astrologers. They've been doing it. If they've been stole since slavery. They've been stole the records from Egypt. They've been stolen. And we know that the Egyptians and Sumerians, amongst many other ancient cultures, anthropomorphized the celestial bodies. We been knew that the information that we was reading in the scriptures had celestial correspondences. We knew this. They knew this. They didn't just say, you know what, we don't know how they built those monuments or those structures. Though most of the pyramids that we ever bear witness to are on the same 32-degree line of latitude tropical Cancer, that can't be a coincidence. They're not going to overlook nothing that they taught. They over there found out the alignment of the planets and what position they're in and what color they look like. Only to turn around and get the Sumerian tablets and realize that they already had that information. They're not going to ignore nothing at that point. They're going to take it very serious. They're going to undermine it to you and teach you to undermine it because they're going to control your information, your education, because it says you cannot hide your mind. So it says here, and they advise us that the best way to deal with the phenomena is to shave off the brute's mental history. Anything pertaining to you that's of an intellectual level or capacity, we're going to diffuse every attempt you have to gain consciousness of knowledge itself. This is some deep stuff, man. So they're trying to stop the awakening. Like, this gets more and more interesting. Let's go on, baby. The pendulum doesn't just swing and everybody goes broke at the same time.
That's right.
It's not true. Whenever there's a crash, whenever there's a depression, whenever there's a recession, you should smile. Because this means opportunity is begging us to make tons of money. opportunity, begging you. So we see here that all you have to do is get an asset to be secured as interest. The bank is allowed to create and lend as much as debt as they want, as long as they do not exceed a 10-to-1 ratio imposed by the Fed. And you're like, what the hell does that mean? Just focus on the asset, the fact that you can make money, asset, offset, asset, sits on the throne, get your assets, get your offset. Put that black woman back on her throne. That's what asset means. And where's that throne at? In her house. That's where she raises God. Think it's a coincidence? And what's the biggest asset you can have now in history? A house. Because next to silver and gold, a house is the most highly esteemed and appraised asset in not just America, but the whole world. You can't trade in your used Jordans and think that the bank won't give you money. How many of you from the hood? Share them down. Who came from out the hood? I mean, say the hood, I mean, like when people shoot and you still stay outside and continue conversation. All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Then you start making more money, you start realizing shit like that. So, alright, those of us that's from the hood, came from it, still there, okay? Where they throw baby Pampers out the project window. Okay, but niggas in wheelchairs shoplift. And you catch them in the club late at night doing stinky leg. Alright? When you from the hood, you learn a whole lot. You know what I learned? All that money I was buying on gold chains, gold teeth. When times got hard, you know what I did when times got hard? When times got hard, I tried to pawn the money. I tried to pawn the jewelry for money. And if you from the hood, when you pawn that jewelry in, that you call icy, bling blingy, and you turn that jewelry in, and you spend $3,000, you robbed somebody, you lied to your grandmother, you stole from a pension, you messed up your wife's credit, and you turn that $3,000 chain in, and they say $300. And you ready to kill the jewelry man, like, yo, you thinking he church? But you don't realize. Wealthy people, when they buy assets, they praise for higher. Poor people, when they buy assets, the second they leave out the door with it, it loses value. Go ahead and buy you a nice car. Every mile you drive away from that dealership, starting from the very first mile, starting from the time they give you the key, it costs over $10,000. And by tomorrow, you'll never be able to return it for what you paid for or remotely close to it. It's not going to pay so high. So go ahead. So a house, highest esteem in terms of economics. You get you a house, you got gold and silver again. Times 1,000. Get you a house. Now you can exchange houses. If you read the House Rent Resolution, you'll understand it too. You can actually exchange houses to make money. Now the trick is, how do I get the house without spending any real money? So I can turn the house in and get back money. So I can become free and do my thing. So I can stop driving around with the diplomatic plates on my car that sounds like a motorcycle. Let's say that you have an extra $1,000 to put to the side every month for a whole year, rather than put this money in the bank and get little to nothing back in return. Let's stop right there. Don't read no more, it's going to get confusing. Let's stop right there. What we'll find when you're looking at this economy, like I told you before, we said what? The tax lien takes priority over any claim of any person whose property has an encumbrance. Encumbrance means something hindering the potential of you making making money off that property. Appreciation, what they call it. When you make money off your asset, it's called appreciation. Okay. This is the situation. Remember in school, Kobe, I told about what a lien is. Every property has a lien on it. A lien represents, in this particular case in terms of properties, it represents the property being delinquent in property taxes for a whole year. This is all information you need right now. When a property goes delinquent for 1 year in property taxes, the lien comes on the radar. Some people say, I put a lien. I once met a brother that told me he put a lien on the White House. I said, why?
Oh, yeah?
You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even live in America, and they won't let him in. That's stupid. Okay, so he said he put a lien on the White House. All right. Anyway, when you can't give some black people information, because when they try it out, they go crazy. The first problem is you don't put a lien on a property. Now, a lot of people say, I just put a lien on this property. You can't put a lien on something that already had it when you bought it. All properties have a lien on it. All properties have a lien on it. A lien represents, right, a property going delinquent in taxes. That's it. Property taxes. Property taxes is very important. That's what a lien is. Okay, so when you went to math class, how many of you remember when they started throwing the every number really has a decimal at the end of it, you just don't see it? And it's like, why you even teach me that from day one? I couldn't fit that in very, now it's getting confusing. They say in mathematics, every integer has a decimal at the end of it, but we just don't show it because a zero follows after it. So it's one of the same as writing one. But if in the event the number is fractionalized, it makes the zero relevant. Okay? Or it makes the number after it relevant. So therefore, the zero, or the decimal part of it, the decimal has to come up. The decimal has to be on the radar when you fractionalize a number. But if it's just a whole integer and the number zero comes after it, there's no need to put the decimal there. That's what they say. Likewise with a lien on a property. The lien is there, affixed to every property you ever buy. The lien is there. However, it doesn't come on the radar until someone goes delinquent in paying their property taxes. It's like the imaginary decimal. Because now there's an encumbrance or something hindering the potential depreciation of the property. That's important information. Now, let's go into a bank. Wouldn't it be nice if you put your money into a bank and amidst you putting your money into the bank, you find that if you save $1,000 in the bank, at the end of the year you probably get, what if they was willing to give you $270 every time you put $1,000 in the bank? Would you take that? How many would take that? What if every time you save $1,000, I pay you $470? That'd be fine. Would anybody give you $270 just for giving them $1,000 to save? Not to kill nobody, nothing. This is, we're not putting no hit out on nobody. All we're saying is just for saving your money. What if you can make money just for saving your money? And what if you could put that same money in an account later for it to make you more money? You would say, how the hell do you do something like that? Oh, you mean CD account? Certificate of deposit, right? But the certificate that they're really talking about is a tax lien certificate, not the certificate they hand you. They do that in the games. They throw you the G. They say open up a CD account, and they're not going to give you nothing going beyond 6%. I'm going to tell you that now. You ain't going to make no money off of that. Wow, $10, $15 extra. And they want to penalize you if you take your money out prematurely because they're using it to invest. You ain't make no money off no CD. Certificate of deposit, the certificate they talk about, is a certificate that they get as they invest in their properties. We're going to talk about that. So what I'm going to teach today, and it's not that long. I made sure I'm not going to make it long. See, I got to weed through 2 hours of information just to understand how to do this. That's not productive and progressive information. We don't have to go into the year the tax lien first came up. We don't have to do all that stuff. We're going to make it simple, but we got to just make sure we understand what a lien is and what property taxes are and they represent. We're going to go into it. So, I say, let's use tax liens as an annuity. We're going to use it as an annuity. This is like an annual payment. This is like when you, let's say you have lawsuit money coming in and they're going to pay you in intervals and they're going to pay you from 1 month to the next, from 1 month to the next, from 1 month to the next. Okay? That's called an annuity. And what we come to find right? We'd be better off establishing a business by paying for other people's taxes and let the property tax come in as an annuity, annual pay. Now, oftentimes I tell people, what do you do for a living though? You teach, right? I'm like, well, I do this is my spirituality, this is what I like doing. And you should do what you like doing, right? But for a living, I pay people's taxes. Don't that sound crazy? 1 minute, like we're running from taxes. Don't want to pay. I won't be taxes in. Now I take on the burdens of other people's taxes for a living. I pay other people's taxes. Pay other people's taxes. Someone's going to say, you got to break that down. So I find out somebody hasn't paid their taxes and they owe $1,500 in taxes. I'm like, you're kidding me, son. Like, yeah, what? Owes $1,500 in taxes. Texas? I get excited. 25% come on my head. They hear me. Some people ain't here know me like that. Well, where they at? Raise your hand. There they go. Take a look at those brothers. Over millions of dollars invested in property. They got millions of dollars invested in property. And you will say, now, what the hell are they doing? His father's in here too.
Yes.
But his father probably like, what the hell are you doing? Can't do it? But millions of dollars in the state and barely crossed the threshold of $1,500. It sounds crazy. And I be laughing all the time because I thought this was hard. I thought being successful was hard. It drives me nuts every time I start thinking about it. And I say, damn, the answers are there. Let me explain to you how all this works first, before we start talking about Texas and how fly Texas is. Let me explain. This is where it's so deep. Property tax. What does property tax pay for?
Services.
Thank you. Go ahead, keep going. Some of you have been coming to those Wednesday classes too. Y'all should be sharp as hell. Oh, you've been coming to those classes, man. Hospitals,
Yeah.
police, checks, fire department, the roads, the highways, light bill in the hospital, school lunch, teacher salary. Property taxes. So if people don't pay their property taxes, the county government is responsible for making sure your highways are smooth. They're responsible for making sure the fire department has the supplies and they can pay them. The volunteers. Still give them something. They're responsible for making sure the light bill stays on. The light stays on. The light bill gets paid. They're responsible for school teachers' salary. Responsible for textbooks. This is what property taxes a lot. On account to the county government allocating the funds or appropriating them to pay off these things. But we're in a jam right now. You know what's the jam? All these foreclosures, these subprimes. S-U-B-P-R-I-M-E-S. Personal homework, look it up, very important. Because of the worst thing going on with America is the best thing for all of us. Best thing. Property taxes help build or maintain the integrity of society on an infrastructure level and just overall social level. Tell me something. You think it's a coincidence, now that you know this information, what property taxes pay for, right? Do you think it's a coincidence? Do you think it's a coincidence that when you see a crack house, you not too long ago ran over a pothole? When you see vacant houses, it's not even safe to drive your car. You got low profile rims, because I'm one of those people, right? I use my tax money, I do niggerish things, like buy 22-inch rims. Your boy Sean told me what you said about me. Yeah, you know Paul, he likes Boston, so he gonna rim, he gonna do that. I was talking to Sean, he's like, yeah, he told me what you came up on, new car that you're driving. Oh yeah, some people say, you conscious, man, you ain't posting by rims on your car. I'm like, I don't subscribe to this. I I deserve it, damn it. I'm teaching the people. I should put 22s in my damn car. We all got our vices. I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking. I'm eating fried mushrooms and eating kale salad. Nigga, I need some 22-inch rims. Let me have my own vice. Everybody got their own. That's what I do. And wait till you see the lapis lazuli rims I'm coming with. Because lapis lazuli is piezoelectric. So that means the more pressure you compress on it, the more pressure you apply to lapis lazuli, the more it creates electromagnetic field. So I was thinking if I had 22-inch lapis lazuli rims, the weight of the car would make me kind of like have like a Knight Rider type of car, or a Transformer type of car. Like that shit might just sound like, yo, I'm going lapis lazuli next song. I just have to find out what to make it. Because I want to use my conscious information. Or, you know, they have what they call cremation diamonds. Some of you came to my Young Melanin lecture, where they can take your hair or the dead remains, as far as the skin is concerned, of your ancestry, and make diamonds. So I had a diamond made for my daughter from out here. So when I'm gone, my light can still be locked into that reason. Because, you know, the Egyptians didn't just wear jewelry for no reason. It was their bodily organs and their ancestors that they was wearing inside of their chains. That's why they got buried with all those chains. Because when the light would come in through the pyramid shaft, it would be refracted to Safu or Orion. And then they would be able to remanifest, because they had every of the major 7 organ systems in the form of a semi-precious stone, a precious stone, a diamond, a quartz, because your eyes is quartz, your heart is gold, literally, so they make the chain from the heart, parts of the chain from the heart. They take the eyes and put in quartz crystals inside the chain. From the pancreas is made up of chrome, like the chrome on the rims. They would take these things and make up chains and put the gems and stones in it from the organs. And when the light comes in through the pyramid shaft at select hours of the day, the light will be able to go, and your ancestors in the form of gems and diamonds as well, their light locked in to the diamonds or the stones will guide your light. And then each body part represented by a stone would be able to remanifest in Orion, according to the ancient Egyptians. And that's why they died with so much jewelry. Because it was their bodily organs and their ancestors. And today, now they found out that they can turn skin and hair into diamonds. And based on how perfectly your skin and your hair is melanin and a good diet, they can make a very valuable diamond. One point is, when I get some cash, I'm like, you know what? I do conscious things with my cash. So I'm going to wear my ancestors now. And I'm like, you know what? I want my daughter walking around with her mother and father. Because if you understand music and the resonant frequencies, how it taps into the magical powers of crystals, you'll understand why a lot of us have the worst luck when we buy new jewelry in our community, because the jewelry is Caucasian ancestry. I shouldn't take that spiritual stuff. Niggas like, yo, F the money, son. I won't go into that. Right? So, with good money, make some diamonds. So you have a diamond chain with your parents on it. I think that denotes more value than just the diamond itself. Well, how are we going to do that if we ain't got the money to get it? So we got to find out to get it and then do what you want to do with it. So I walk with my lapis lazuli rims, my grandmother and grandfather on my chain, swagging, and they may look nigga, but it's 1,000% conscious. You just don't understand. That's what we do. We do conscious things. We can be able to fund somebody who has the mind but doesn't have the money in our community to do something powerful for us all. That's how this is supposed to work. Some people don't got the exact information. They just need some funding. But with some funding, they can do wonders with our community. Okay? So, we're talking about annuity. We found out what property tax represents. This we're going to be able to wrap up in 15 minutes too, and do Q&A. This is how fly it is. Property tax represents the highways being right? And I was making a correlation between bad highways, empty buildings or buildings being foreclosed upon, poor schools. Start realizing, hold on, this is all connected. You don't have a good school, you don't have a good highway. You don't have a good highway, you have vacant homes. Vacant homes are not generating revenue. If it's not generating revenue, property tax is not being paid. If property tax is not being paid, we can't pay teachers. The school's going to be overcrowded. The lunch is going to be horrible. Fire departments, we're not going to have too much in our neighborhood. Churches, we're going to allow, because we're going to convince you
according to the book of Genesis chapter 14, that Melchizedek came to Abraham. Abraham had to get 10% of his earnings. So you got to come up with some money so you can get 10% of your earnings or a check. So the church is going to encourage you to get a job, work on the books, right? So they can get 10% of your earnings, but people who are earning something are inclined to have to pay taxes. So we're going to make sure churches are set up all through your community to inspire you to not just quit, but to get a job and give up 10% of your earnings. So a lot of times checks get 10% of your check before you even get it. It's a fact, absolute fact. Oh yeah. Powerful stuff. So we say bad highways, potholes all over the place, empty buildings, crackhead buildings, foreclosed properties, poor school conditions, lower criteria for education, all has a connection. Property tax. The highest paid teachers in the world. Highest paid teachers in the world. Well, in America, we should say, let's focus on Illinois and Texas. They have one of the lowest rates of foreclosures, so they have more property taxes being generated, which means they can pay teachers more money. Not coincidence. Not a coincidence. They pay teachers more money than any other state. If I was going to be a teacher, I would go straight for Illinois or Texas. Because they generate more revenue, and they give you back more interest. Chicago gives you 18% interest. Texas gives you 25% interest on lien. We'll go on it. So why is the tax lien so important? Because we're in a day and time where so many houses are being foreclosed upon. The county had to construct or create some kind of methodology that the people can employ, which is called the monetization of foreclosures. What does that mean? Monetizing foreclosures. It means making money over the whole foreclosure process taking place in America. This means that the county government will pay you, mandated by law, a percentage of your money back if you pay someone else's taxes. They will give you 16 to 25% of your money in return upon your principal, which is the money you invest. They'll give you 16 to 25% of your money back. Texas is 25%. That's why I mentioned any given to you twice. It's ridiculous. So what we're saying is, if we use it as a bank, you know, people save their money. They want to save their money. But if your money doesn't have a purpose, you tend to use it. You put your money in the account, you say, I'm going to leave it here, I ain't going to touch it. 2 weeks later, you have to touch it. You get used to touching it, you spend it all out, back to zero again. Correct? And you never get a chance to hold it. Well, what if every time you saved up your money, you can get the money right back? Not just get it back, but get it back 600 to 700% more than what the bank will give you on any day. Even if the teller was on crack and couldn't have the ability to make rational decisions, they wouldn't give you back 600 to 700% like the county government would. You can get 600 to 700% more than what the bank will give you any day. So why wouldn't you do it? So we said it's mandated by law. If you come and you pay for someone else's taxes, they're delinquent property taxes, the government will give you 16, I said government, not your homeboy down the block, not Polight. The government mandates by law, it's mandated by law, they have to give you 16 to 25% of your investment money back. And that is not it. Well, we're going to stop there, we're going to go somewhere. That's not it. Let's go. They're not just going to give you 60 to 25% of what you put in. Like, let's say you pay $2,000 on one delinquent tax. They're not going to give you 16 to 25% of the delinquent taxes. You know what they're going to do? Before they give you that, they're going to hit the property owner with a late penalty. Guess what the late penalty goes to? They're going to hit them up with what they call additional surcharges. And guess what the additional surcharges go to? You. They're going to add all that up, and then give you 16 to 25%. And if you use this as your bank and say, look, I'm just going to put $500 to the side because I want to save it, instead of save $500, buy a tax lien. If you plan to really save it and don't touch it, buy a tax lien. So you can get back your money. If you got $1,000 and ain't doing nothing, and you want to save it up until the end of the year, next year, it so it can build into 2,000, 3,000, then don't put it in the bank. Use the tax lien business as a bank and put it into tax lien. You might get back $400 or $500 on top of your $1,000. Let's say you did that consistent every month. Let's say you could afford to put away $250 every month, or $1,000. Let's say $1,000. You can't afford $1,000, cut it into half, $500. Cut that into half, $250, whatever you get. Let's just say you can put aside $1,000 a month. Turn it into whatever it is that you have. Make it zero so we understand how to cut it in half easier. That means by the time the year is over, right, I would have in or around $5,000 extra just for saving $1,000 up every month. That means in 10 years, I will have $50,000 that I didn't save that saved. Oh, if you only put $500 up, you will have only $25,000. If you only had $250, you could cut that up. $12,500 extra. I know there's been some years I could have used that extra $12,500 by putting, I know I ran for $250 every month that I spent ridiculously, plus that. I could have put that to the side 10 years later, and been that. Do you have to wait 10 years? No, you can get it in real time. I'm just saying accumulatively. 10 years, that's $50,000 extra dollars. Oh yeah, it's not just $50,000 extra dollars, because if you put it into the right account called qualified retirement plan, and I'm gonna go over it again if you ain't write it down, qualified retirement plan, your $50,000 is gonna look like $70,000, especially if you're in the lower tax bracket, or higher tax bracket, I should say. When a property goes into delinquency in terms of property tax, a lien comes up on the radar. Someone can pay for the lien. The county government, right, is going to create a tax lien. Then they're going to sell it at an auction for you and me to buy, right? Then you're going to purchase it. Then you're going to get a tax lien certificate. When you get the tax lien certificate, what's going to happen is, it's going to denote probably the mortgage on the property. It's going to denote your principal, how much you put in. It's going to denote your interest, which you're going to get back, the late fees and penalties, as it relates to when you got it. So someone may say, well, what if the property owner doesn't pay back the taxes? How do I get my profit? You have to wait. This is called redemption period. Once you pay for the property taxes, you're actually helping the person that owes the money. It's called redemption period or probation period. It's the time allotted for a person to be able to pay for the delinquent property taxes before you execute your right to foreclose, thereby giving a 60 to 90-day statement in the mail certified to all the parties that have an invested interest in the property.